Thanks everybody for joining. Welcome to our first community session open to the public, State of LLMs. We are excited to jump right into it and make sure you guys get a lot out of joining us. We know all of your time is extremely valuable today. We're going to kick it off with just a real brief explanation of what people are describing LLMs as today. And then I'm going to do my best to outline a very brief technical history of LLMs. We're going to do a discussion where you're going to be in a breakout room with others. We're going to get together. We're going to talk about what you're doing to keep up with the state of the art. It's crazy today to try to figure out what to look at, what to pay attention to, what to ignore. And we're going to then discuss after we come back from those breakout rooms. You'll get to meet some new people. And we're going to try to put it all together to see if we can come up with some key learnings from the group that we can then share more broadly, not with everybody that just registered, but beyond with all of our individual networks. And then we've got a very special live interactive demo with some of the latest and greatest tools that Chris Alexiak, one of our instructors here at Fourth Brain, who is in the house, is going to do for us before we wrap up and find some ways to connect with each other, leaving the community session today and moving forward into the future. Because as we believe, and what I'm hearing from everybody who I ask, the best way to keep up with the state of the art is to make sure that you're connected with others who are trying to keep up with the state of the art. So we hope to start making some of those connections today. Okay, so let's just couch this all in this big idea of what an LLM is. You know, Wikipedia is the starting point for everybody. So, you know, we can look at this and we can basically say, all right, it's a large neural network with many, many parameters, and it was trained on very large quantities of unlabeled text using one of these more advanced learning techniques. This will make a little bit more sense as we go through the brief history of LLMs. The patterns of language that have emerged are really what allow these LLMs to generate those human-like responses that we have become so familiar with when we leverage ChatGPT, let's say. At the end of the day, no longer is this only the domain of practice of technologists, but rather it is the domain of practice of everyone. The computers don't need us to speak their language. We can now speak ours, and they can, in a sense, understand. So that is the really cool breakthrough here. Now, I know this is a big slide, but we're going to walk through one by one here for our very brief technical history. As we think about large language models, it's important to think about how we got started with natural language processing in the first place. The very first thing that you probably learned if you've ever studied NLP is thinking about how we turn words into numbers, how we vectorize words and sentences, or how we create embeddings, in another said differently. As we started to see in the early days, the early 2010s, pre-trained embeddings started to come online that showed us that words that were similar could be seen in a similar region of our vector space. So with breakthroughs like Word2Vec that came out, and Glove, these vector embedding tools that came out, we really started to see words like cat and dog, king and queen. These words would be actually close to one another when we could plot them in a lower dimensional space. So this was really, really cool to sort of see some of the early pre-trained things that people started to leverage. I remember doing consulting back in these days, and it was very, very, very difficult to actually build something end-to-end using Word2Vec or Glove that was useful for companies. Then we moved into this phase of trying to just nail benchmarks, whether it was a general language understanding, it was the Stanford question and answer data set, or we were really trying to trick the models with adversarial questions. GLUE is a set of 9 benchmarks, but it's important to understand the benchmarks to understand LLMs today. I encourage everyone in this room, if you're not familiar with GLUE, SQUAD, and SWAG, to dig into each of those benchmarks, try to understand exactly what they're doing, whether it's summarization, question answering, sentence completion, text classification. All of these tasks are fundamental to what LLMs can actually do today because they were trained in a multitask way to be able to do all of these things very well. Of course, the big breakthrough was in 2017 with the transformer architecture, famously with the paper, "Attention is all you need." And the big idea here is, what should I pay attention to in this entire crazy vector space of stuff to get my similarities and my correlations and my natural language understanding right? We started to see a lot better performance on some of these models and against some of these benchmarks when we added bidirectionality to the mix with BERT. So bidirectional transformer is what BERT is. As we then took it further, we started to see in 2018, GPT from OpenAI came out, where, this idea of combining unsupervised pre-training with supervised fine-tuning was sort of part of the magic sauce that we would even do better and get more realistic results coming out with our simple sort of word prediction. And against these benchmarks, we were doing incredibly well still. From there, we saw basically a lot of 10x things happening. GPT-2, we went from basically 100 million to 1.5 billion parameters. And over the next 2 years, we went from that 100 million to 175 billion parameters. And as this happened, we started to get better and better and better at all of the tasks that we tried to originally nail from a benchmark perspective. And it started to become really kind of intriguing to see, poets created in the style of Friedrich Nietzsche, or stories created, or fun tweets created. And as technologists, we started to see the real potential in the GPT-2, GPT-3 era. This all came back into the fold and connected with computer vision in 2020 to 2022, as we realized that we could put pixels in on the front end of our large transformer architectures, rather than those words as numbers and those embeddings. And when we did that, we started to see OpenAI come out with Image GPT, Clip, DALL-E. DALL-E, of course, created images, but they weren't like amazing. So they didn't capture the spirit of what technologists knew this could actually result in. But the average person couldn't really see the beautiful results in the images yet, until 2022, after a couple more years of work. GPT 3.5, DALL-E 2, famously DALL-E Mini on Hugging Face, the most popular space ever created at the time. And then we saw this explosion: Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Stability AI raising $100 million with no real significant customers or business model to speak of at a $1 billion valuation. We started to see things get crazy in a hurry. And of course, ChatGPT in November 2022 was the real moment when everything changed around the world. It hit news articles like nothing ever has before, and it hit the public consciousness like nothing ever has before. Since the release of ChatGPT, things have been nuts. GPT-4 came out in March 2023. We've seen Google and Facebook and Stanford and many other researchers and companies release their versions of GPT, of Chat GPT, and it's just been a wild ride. You can kind of picture a lot of the stuff that we haven't even mentioned here from this 2020 to 2022 timeframe here in a great state of AI report from the end of 2022. Since the end of 2022, this is a great paper that came out March 31st of 2023. We've seen it's really not enough to do it by year anymore. We have to do it by quarter, and things, 2022 is in the center here, and things have just gotten crazy. 2023, things have even blown up even more. Okay, so this is where we're at. Even just in the past couple months, how does one keep up? This is the point of today's session. We've got Bard, we've got Dolly, Google, Databricks, Lightning AI, Stability AI, Mosaic. Google released their newest model. Palm 2 just came out. Hugging Face is constantly releasing. Everybody's building, shipping, and sharing their new LLM technology. And we will see at the end of the day today how we can now create our very own open source instruction-tuned model using Llama, Llama, and Dolly. We'll understand exactly what those are when we sort of get to that part of the programming today. Okay, so this is where we are. Not to mention, during all of this, we had sort of made the transition from this idea of machine learning in production to now, how do we apply these LLMs to our production environments? The terms are evolving. The words that we use are evolving. Some of them are breaking down. Some of them need to be split apart, and we need new words. We need to differentiate further, as we've seen when we did supervised versus unsupervised, to semi-supervised, to self-supervised. It's starting to become a very crazy space to keep track of. And again, that's what these community sessions are for. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to open our breakout room for the day. In our breakout room, we're going to have 10 people per room, approximately. And what we want you to do is we want you to, first of all, meet one another. Why else are you here in a community session other than to build some community? But try to answer the question for each person. How do you keep up with what's happening in LLMs and with generative AI? And we want you to assign one person per room to take notes on what people share, and then to bring those notes back to the class. It looks like we'll have about 10 or 11 rooms. And what we'll do is we'll go through each room. We'll give you 2 minutes per room, 1 to 2 minutes per room, to share everything that you got from the rest of the community members in your room. And then I will take some notes publicly for everybody. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that we collate these together, and we will share with everyone in this community session, and also share on social media and on other networks to hopefully help out some other folks with resources to keep up on the state of the art with LLMs and generative AI. We will remind you of the question as soon as you get into the breakout rooms. Remember, how do you keep up with what's happening with the state of the art, LLMs and generative AI? And then assign one person from each room to take notes. We've got a 20-minute breakout room. Raise your hand in the breakout room if you need us to come in and help you out with anything. But otherwise, have an awesome time meeting each other, learning from one another, and hopefully taking some really cool resources away with you from this room over the next 20 minutes. All right, let's open them up, and we'll see you back in 20. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back, everyone. We hope that you had a great time in the community session, talking to other folks in the community who run into the same issues. I'm seeing some smiles on the faces. That's what we love to see in here. Very great stuff. So I'm going to kind of just bounce around to rooms. If you don't know the room that you were in, I'm going to call out a few names from it. And whoever was the one person that basically was trying to take notes and give us some quick rundown and feedback, that person go ahead and jump right in and let us sort of tell us a little bit about what you learned. All right, room 5, Joe, Kalyan, Matt, Miguel, Patrick, Pedram, Ramesh, Robert. And if somebody's muted, I think I see Patrick muted.
Yes, so I guess I don't really have any good notes. I guess I did take notes, but I guess there are probably too much to go through, but I'll try to kind of hit some high points. Well, we spent quite a bit of time introducing ourselves, so that was interesting, but didn't give a lot of information about how to absorb this information. People were saying, it's very difficult because there's papers coming out every day. I guess that was just one point about the difficulty of it. A few people were talking about using like YouTube. That YouTube, you can go on YouTube and you can find somebody summarizing a paper in 5 minutes, and that can be a good resource. I mean, a couple of people, I think, if you're working in the area, obviously it helps. If you're, if you can actually do this during your workday and somebody's paying you to this, then you can maybe go in and actually try and implement something, and you will learn a lot by doing that. That's not open to everybody, obviously, but that's a good way to do it. And so probably a few other things, which I'm just kind of scrolling through here, but again, LinkedIn, people were saying some people found LinkedIn useful. So Robert was talking about different ways of doing this. Like one way would be to look at learning in terms of you can learn neural networks, then you could try to understand the attention, how attention works in that, and then how the models are trained. Or else you could look at a different way. You could start like at the application level, talk about prompt engineering, try to learn prompt engineering. And then there's also this whole thing about using this with other applications and maybe getting to do things. But I guess he was suggesting maybe try to learn prompts. If you're starting off, prompt engineering would be a good way to start off with, and you get good results, and then maybe dive down from there, maybe into more depth as you need to.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, great stuff. So if it's already been said, no, you'll go ahead and leave it. But yeah, I love that sort of first principles approach from Robert for sure. Okay, let's see. Room 8, Irvin, Krithika, Mohammed, NLP.jk, Newport. This group.
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
So I took the note actually. So we were talking about, something like should be present like open source libraries to support big data platform, and how to train others to learn about LLMs, because people are new over here, so they don't know. Because if you use like Hugging Face libraries, also these advanced libraries, because most of the people are not aware about those libraries. So how they can use in day-to-day activities, how like no AI apps would be there. Then we discussed about the prompt engineering course also, which is good for like doing the prompt engineering, but not actually understanding how LLM architecture work actually. So that's the main concern for us.
The architecture. Yeah, there's so much to this. There's so much to this space for sure. Okay, moving right along. Room 9, Amit, your room. Who was in there? Let's see if you were with Amit.
So I guess we didn't assign anyone. We saw the note.
Oh, you're on then. You're on. What's up, Amit? What'd you guys talk about?
So it was all of the above. Very interesting point was like we need to focus on the use case as well. Sometimes, again, within the prompt engineering world, there is a lot happening. A really important thing that we went around is in Circle, there's, people are trying to engage in certain technology within their companies to get that kind of LLM kind of exposure if their companies are already, adopting to that. There is also a huge issue is like if it's not in their companies, in their production systems already, so like maybe ChatGPT is not on, but something else is, so that's kind of limiting their know-how. I say follow Chris. That's my go-to method of doing it, where it comes through. So that's been the easiest cheat code I can suggest. Jino also raised a really important part was when you do it in Korea, there is a lot of different ways of, the tokenization is actually twice as more expensive. Another, Esteban, also from our cohort, raised a very important point was the understanding the IDEs actually helps with the learning, right? If we can throw larger data sets into Colab and AWS, and if that's kind of smoother to do, that helps with the learning especially.
Yeah. Good stuff, Amit. Good stuff. Okay, so let's go back all the way up here to room 1. Caroline, Christian, Saber, Shang, Song, Tatiana.
Yeah, I take the lead here. I'm Rodolfo. So the main sources you mentioned the group are, of course, the newsletter from Andrew the Batch, and our newsletter TLDR AI, from following podcasts like Practical AI, the AI Breakdown, the TWIML AI, and also one member of the group mentioned she followed the YouTube channel of CS50 from Harvard as a source to stay updated, and of course, well, events from Fourth Brain like this one, and follow specific people like Andrew, of course, Lekan, and Alexa Gordic, Gordic.
Room 1 killed it. Yes, thank you. This is, I think, the very practical, actionable stuff that people really are going to find a lot of value in. So I love this. Okay, room 2, if you got some follow-ups on that. Vinod, Sanjeev, Tao, Ruben, Larry, Ilya. What have you got? Alexander.
Hey, it's Peter. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. So basically, we were introducing ourselves, and from what I caught on my notes, it resonated. There are a lot of resources people are using for batch, some Stanford courses, communities and groups, and it's kind of hard to keep up. And like there is a lot of things, but somebody mentioned that it looks like we need still the larger stack of data, maybe look up for some innovation, but it's hard to navigate at space. Also, one thing that came up is that there are still doubts that what is out there, what we can see on the internet, it looks fascinating, but sometimes there are doubts it really does the thing that is presenting. So the one thing that resonated with me personally is that I would like to know how the stuff works under the hood, and especially what can be accomplished. So that's about it. I might miss something, but yeah, that's it. That's what I was able to kind of get from the room.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, certainly, like what we're hearing over and over everywhere we go is it's hard. It's hard. And so if nothing else, we take away that everybody else knows it's hard too. So you're definitely not alone that you're feeling behind and it's hard and it's difficult and, nobody has the right answer. So I think this is a big, real benefit of the community aspect here. All right, Mo, your room. Did you sign up to speak, or was it somebody else?
Yes, and I took the notes.
Okay. Yeah, my man. What's up?
All right, so one is actually interesting for everybody here, and I thought it would be mentioned earlier, which is the batch subscription, the batch newsletter. So that was brought in the room. The second one was brought by Mary, which is from Australia. There is a publication that it calls This Week in NLP. And it seems to be a credible source that she follows. Other members of the room shared that they have internal sharing with company teams. They have a team where they follow this news and they share within each other. Some members said there are MLOps computing YouTube communities, MLOps communities, I'm sorry, on YouTube. And the last thing here, which is not listed before, is Discord groups of certain companies like NVIDIA, where people have some channels, they talk about what they have seen, what is exciting, and so on.
Love it. Yeah. And you know what? I think that's an underrated one, is your own personal companies
Yep.
keeping up with the times through each other. We do that a lot at Fourth Brain, 100%. And if you're not doing that at your company yet, you should be the one to start that. And that's a great way to stay right in the center of everybody's network. Okay, so we've got just a couple more minutes. I wanna try to give everybody time here. Let's go room 4. Craig, Eva, Jason, it's your room. John, Michael, Roland.
I can speak to that. Most of what you've covered as we went through as well. I guess I'd just like to call out some YouTube channels, Yannick Culture, Machine Learning Street Talk, 2-minute papers. Those are some others. And Reddit is also a good source, as well as coworkers. Archive Sanity Lite is a good way to keep up to date with the cutting edge papers as they come out too. And in terms of online courses, they have deep learning AI, AWS resources, Fourth Brains like you guys, and O'Reilly. Those are some others, as well as Udacity. That's the gist of what you have to add.
Nice. What was that first one that you said that I missed before Machine Learning Street Talk?
Yannick Kulchner. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it.
Okay.
Yannic, and then
Yannick Culture.
Kulchner. Kultcher, I think. Kulchner. There might be an N in there.
Okay, something like that. Okay, good stuff. I think we have 7 and 10, so let's go super quick. Shakur, your room. Anna, Arjun, Ivy, Louise, Rupa.
Hi, Greg. I'll go for the room 7. So the room 7 took some time to get it started. Then we started with the TLDR newsletter. And then we talked about the Sam Altman congressional hearing. Then one of the members mentioned the DEF CON, where thousands of hackers have been set loose on LLMs. Then Michael mentioned the fear and apprehension of these models because of the deep fake setup, and plus the authoritative way these models give out hallucinations about certain stuff without any basis in reality. And then Rupa mentioned that how kids are basically using these models and kind of are able to, basically it's a double-edged sword. And then though it's an educational tool, but they'll be able to use it and solve their homework and such and such, and they're able to keep track of it much better than we can. That was the entire gist of it.
All right, very cool, very cool. All right, room 10, anything final to add? Room 10. We've only got a couple left.
No, I think we discussed that it is kind of hard to follow all the fast evolutions of LLMs, and also that we are keeping updated with meetups, deep learning AI, ML study group meetups, and other tools.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Very cool. Well, we are going to share everything that was just shared with us with the larger group in a direct mail following this event. And one of the things that I like to share with everybody is, Chip Wen put this out, 3 ways to keep up. We've heard a lot of this. Ignore most of the hype, focus on first principles, read only the summaries. It's really cool to try Bing chat in creative mode. We will send out the slides as well for you to check this out. Or just try to build to keep up with the latest tools. And that's what we're going to show you here right now. So this week's build, and Chris Alexic is going to walk us through this, is actually instruction tuning of a fully open source, commercially available model called Llama. So DALL-E 15K is a set of instruction following records generated by Databricks employees, covers a lot of stuff. It was released when DALL-E 2.0 was released. And the new LLM that we were playing with this week that Chris is going to show us how to mess with is an independent implementation of the large language model meta AI Llama. And the open source community really embraced Llama. We saw that with Alpaca, where Stanford did some instruction tuning, but now we can do instruction tuning ourselves using DALL-E 15K. Lightning AI released LitLlama, and they said their goal is to provide a clean, fully open, non-harmful implementation of the Llama source code that can be rapidly developed. They began with Andre Karpathy's Nano GPT and have been building on it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chris to show you exactly how he instruction tuned or fine-tuned LitLlama.
Yes, so I'm just going to share my screen, and then I'm going to ask the obligatory, can you see my screen? Perfect. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit here. So basically, this is the LitLlama repo. This is going to do most of the work for us. So even if you're just getting started with LLMs or, you're getting into the space, this should be accessible to you. Fantastic repository put together by the Lightning AI team. So the big benefits of this particular method is that, as these basically 4 bullet points, right? It's simple, it's correct, which they use to mean it's got good metric, right? It's optimized. This is very true, and it's open source, and it's completely open source. And when we use this architecture, because LitLlama is an architecture, so it's built off of, or it's a spiritual evolution of Karpathy's Nano GPT, right? So it's a very lightweight, very few lines of code example of how we can build an LLM. And if you combined that with the OpenLM research team, who's produced weights as they go through and they train this infrastructure to be as good as the Llama models that Meta released, but in a way that's completely open source. So they're using the Red Pajama data set, which is fully commercially licensed. We get ourselves, potentially one of the easier kind of large language models to play with right now. So all we have to do is kind of clone this into our Colab environment. You'll notice I'm doing this entirely in Colab. The model's training right now, and we're using right at the ceiling of the Pro subscription, but we're able to do it just in Colab. And, you basically just CD in, you install your requirements, you grab the checkpoint from OpenLM research, and then they're releasing checkpoints kind of every day as they train their base model on more and more information. And then you convert those to work with the with LitLlama, and you convert your data set to work with LitLlama, and then you run this script, and that's as easy as it needs to be to start instruction tuning this model. As you can see, we're training now. It is not using more than 40 gigabytes of GPU RAM, and we're training on that DALL-E 15K data set. So I have an old checkpoint here that I just ran a sample on, which is recommend a movie to watch on the weekend and provide some context for your choice. And we're able to get, for the weekend, to recommend watching Prisoners of the Sky on Netflix. It's a war movie set during World War II that depicts the lives of Nazi prisoners of war who were held in a jam, and it gives a great, long, and detailed answer, right? Which is absolutely not the case with the base model. So and that took around 6 hours of fine tuning. So with a Colab Pro subscription, 6 hours, and a little bit of walking through that repo, you can instruct tune a large language model yourself today, right? And that's kind of the benefit of the constant evolution we're seeing from the community, is this ability to really do these things quickly and efficiently.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome, Chris. This is really cool. And, I think this is part of the reason that, everybody has a different approach to keeping up. Chris's is build, build, build. He's going to keep building. We are going to share all the links associated with Chris's build, with these slides, with the notes that I took, and we're going to give you a nice condensed way of sort of keeping up with everything we talked about with links. We are going to also share in the Zoom chat a Let's All Connect link. I've already started this, and this is basically put your name, put your email, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you want to do. Feel free to connect with anybody and everybody on here. One of the ways to keep up with the community is to make sure that you're connected with people in the community. And then if you have notes or feedback or ideas about how we can improve these community sessions in the future, we're essentially going to focus the very next community session on prompt engineering versus fine tuning. And we're going to talk about some of the definitions, some of the details, and we will discuss as a group. We will continue these community sessions as long as you're finding them useful, as long as you're finding them valuable, and you can count on Chris to continue to build, and we will share a short build with you at the end of each community session to come. So let us know what other community sessions you'd like to see. Other than that, we are just about at time for the evening. I'm sure Chris, Ali, and I would be happy to stick around for a couple of minutes. If you would like, and you've got some burning questions to ask, feel free to stick around and hang out for just a few minutes after. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. Please fill out that feedback. We will be sending a direct mail message to you tomorrow with feedback as well. Thank you for joining us, sharing your ideas, connect with everybody you met today, and let us know how we can improve these in the future. Thank you so much, everybody. And we'll see you next time, next Wednesday, same time, prompt engineering and fine tuning.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.